The tube. Not exactly the most pleasurable form of transportation, but still an intricate and iconic part of London life. And if you really think about it, there is something oddly mystical about the London Underground. Potent smells aside, the Underground moves thousands of Londoners and tourists from one end of the city to the other every day. The 1998 film Sliding Doors used the tube as a primary location, and it was so iconic that people now talk about having a, quote, sliding doors moment, which entails someone barely making it on the tube, making eye contact with you, and both of you knowing it was just meant to be. This phenomenon is not without evidence, as more than half of Londoners self-reported finding love on the Underground. The London Metro even has a missed connection section, where tube riders can write about the pretty girl who got on the District line to Embankment, or the scouts in skinny jeans who rode from Aldgate to Tower Bridge. So, what is it about the London Underground that has its passengers daydreaming about love? Perhaps it's something of the loneliness of city life, the quiet of public transport as riders keep to themselves, or perhaps it is that passengers' minds wander to the magical idea of love instead of thinking about the dreaded morning commute. I think it's safe to say that the combination of wishing for love and a harsh reality served as inspiration behind the 1998 British rom-com Sliding Doors. The film is more than just your run-of-the-mill rom-com, as it encompasses science fiction themes as well, but in a very tangible way. David Wardwell calls this a forking path film, which serves as a middle ground between the art house and the conventional. Allow me to explain. Most of the film is not set on the Underground for rather obvious reasons. One being expensive, two being impractical, and three being that the tube starts to lose its charm the longer you sit or stand on it. However, the most pivotal scene in the movie, the sliding doors moment if you will, takes place at London's Embankment station. Helen, played by a very young Gwyneth Paltrow, just got fired from her swanky PR job. She begins the journey back to her boyfriend Jerry, who is currently balls deep in his ex-girlfriend Lydia. Since Embankment is the station Helen takes, the viewer can insinuate that she has some rather swanky clients. Helen runs to catch the Underground home to her wanker of a boyfriend, but there are two paths that begin to unfold. The first sequence, what Wardwell labels the melodrama, shows Helen running to catch the tube, but a child is in her way and she is too late. She misses the train. So she leaves the station and takes a taxi, arriving later because public transport is superior and, in this scenario, I suppose sexier, and therefore missing catching Jerry cheating. In timeline number 2, which Wardwell considers the rom-com, Helen moves the child and barely, and I mean barely, makes the train. Next to her is James, played by John Hannah, a chatty Scottish fellow who is trying to be very nice. Too nice. He misses the cues that Helen does not want to talk right now. Nevertheless, he remains in pursuit. This could be attributed to a survey that found a third of respondents thought people more attractive on the Underground than if they saw them at a bar or another public place. Regardless, Helen arrives home just in time to catch Jerry in the act. I believe it is up to the viewer to decide which timeline they believe to be the real one. However, I am not alone in my suspicions that the last sequence, the taxi cab dark-haired melodrama, is the reality. This is aided by the final scene of the first sequence where Helen misses the tube. After a severe car crash, Helen finally learns of Jerry's cheating and breaks up with him, all the while James is just leaving his grandmother. They both get on the hospital elevator, and James makes a Monty Python reference to Helen, which she finishes. This is strange because Helen from Timeline 2, who died in a car crash at the end, would have never understood the reference had she not met James in that timeline. So it appears that there is a combination of Helen's potential past tied up by the actions of her love interest. Ultimately, Helen still meets John Hannah, and she still finds out about her cheating boyfriend, but like in life, it just took her a little longer to get there. Peter Howart's Sliding Doors has served as inspiration for other London sci-fi rom-coms, such as the 2013 hit About Time starring Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson. Howart's masterful blending of typical rom-com conventions, melodrama, and sci-fi has left a mark on the commercial film industry. The movie stands the test of time as something so familiar and yet so unique, not to mention the thousands of Londoners who now spend their morning commute hoping some gorgeous human barely makes the stop at Embankment. How it has not only encouraged genre blending in the mainstream, but has also added to the long history of the romanticization of the iconic London